We really do need good contracts kind of as the way to not only resolve conflict, but to define the relationship.
The biggest complaint we get about any contracts is always, oh, these are way too long. So the biggest thing I would say with a good contract that's well worded is that you get certainty, because we don't ever want the answer to be, we don't know, because both sides are going to fuss about that.
It really serves as the roadmap to how this relationship is going to go if it doesn't go how we think it and hope it will. It's not a matter of if something goes wrong is right, it's a matter of when.
Wouldn't it be nice to have a document that's been created over 30 years that addresses kind of the most common run-ins that both sides have?
Other contracts don't even have the required disclosures. You may be committing some kind of deceptive trade practice act because you didn't give the piece of paper.
That's why we update it every 2 years, which is why it's very important to buy the most recent version.
Hey friends, welcome back to the Your Project Shepherd podcast. Did you know that the average home has way more than 30,000 components? And when we get into big custom homes, that can be way, way more than that. And many of those components get assembled outdoors in the rain and the mud and the sleet and the snow and the dirt. And they get there by bouncing down the road on trucks and trains and pallets and cardboard boxes. And then those components get assembled by a large team of humans, probably hundreds of people on a given house. And all those people have a life. They have the same ups and downs and struggles that you and I do. And those humans use their skills to build some amazing homes, but they're also only human. And that means mistakes do sometimes happen. Now, you throw in a good dose of emotion into the equation because people are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars or possibly millions of dollars of their hard-earned money to build that house, that place that they're going to live in and raise their family. So when you factor in 30,000 parts and pieces, hundreds of humans, big amounts of money, and a big dose of emotion, guess what? Conflicts can arise and do arise. And so we have this need to have a very clear, level-headed way to not only resolve conflict, but also to define the relationship and hopefully prevent conflict in the first place. And the way that we do that is with good contracts. And so that's one of the big things that we're going to talk about today, although we're certainly going to hit on some other stuff. Back in the fall, we were lucky enough to have Bob Peterson from NAHB talking about national issues around the National Association of Homebuilders. And then a few months ago, we had a great panel with the GHBA here in the office talking about local issues. So today we're going to talk about that third leg of that three-legged stool, that three-prong system, and that third leg is the state association. Here in the great state of Texas, that is called the Texas Association of Builders. And joining me today to talk about TAB and what they do for me and the rest of the members, and to talk a lot specifically about our contracts, I am fortunate to have three great guests. I've got Adam Aschmann with Tilson Homes across the table from me. I've got Donald Shelton from Bush, Rudnicki, and Shelton, also across the table. And right next to me, I've got Frances Blake, and she is General Counsel of TAB. So, guys, let's go around the table. First of all, thanks for being here. Let's go around the table, and each of you tell me kind of what you do in your job and how you've been connected to TAB.
Great. Frances Blake with TAB. I am General Counsel and Vice President of Regulatory Affairs. So I oversee all of our association's legal matters as well as regulatory matters, meaning anything in front of the comptroller's office, for example. That's myself and JD and Scott, who are also with builders, are going to handle that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
My name is Adam Aschmann. I'm General Counsel at Tilson Homes. I'm also the past president of the GHBA and fortunate enough to chair TAB's Contracts Committee, among many other things. So thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm Don Shelton. I'm a lawyer, private practice. We have offices in Austin, Houston, and the DFW area. If I had to describe kind of what our firm does, we're real property lawyers, and we primarily represent builders, and we involved in construction-related issues and contracts, and at the end of the day, mediations, arbitrations, and litigation if it comes to that.
All right, so I'm the only non-attorney in the room today, so I am way outgunned in the intellect department, but I'll try to hang. All right, so we're going to start off with kind of a softball question. We're going to start by talking about TAB in general before we get more into the contract side of things. So TAB, I mean, what is TAB? What is the association? What does it do?
So at its core, it is a trade association that supports and advocates for our members who are in the residential construction industry. So the way I see it is there's kind of 4 areas: advocacy, which is at the Capitol or in front of regulatory committees and commissions. We represent members' voices there, make sure that their perspective and their side is heard and represented, because ultimately that's make sure that they're represented in the law. The second one is industry support contracts. That's an easy one. And then education and events. So Sunbelt Builder Show. I'm going to get the plug in right here. Sunbelt Builder Show, which is an amazing industry. There's a huge floor room. We have hundreds of exhibitors that come and showcase really the best of the industry. And I mean, it gets real technical and nerdy. Like, you want to talk about windows and flashing and, who has the best or the newest way to install things. You can see it there. It's a really neat event. And that's going to be in San Antonio, July 22nd to the 23rd this year. And then the last is workforce development. So through TAB's philanthropic foundation, the Texas Builders Foundation, we support various things that help create and encourage people to join the trade industry. I know there's a huge shortage of framers, plumbers. So what the foundation does is it will donate and have scholarships for these students to get that type of education.
Great.
Yeah.
Adam, anything to add on that?
Yeah, I mean, as you mentioned, it's one of the 3 legs in the 3-legged stool that is our federation, and that's NHB, the state association, and then here in Texas, we're blessed to have 27 local associations. Here in Houston, it happens to be the GHBA. TAB represents over 758,000 jobs in the great state of Texas and contributes, I think it's $71.5 billion annually to our state economy. So we're really proud of who we are.
Yeah, when I look at the association from the outside perspective, I'm not employed by the association, but very involved. I look at this association, and ultimately what the association is doing is this collective of memberships that are building that American dream to have a home to live in. And we're, the association, for all the advocacy and all the things that it does for its own members, ultimately those members are trying to put people in affordable homes that they can raise their family in. And it's the single biggest purchase that almost everyone makes in their lifetime is their home. And that's what the members are doing. They're putting people in homes that they're going to raise their families in, and their kids are going to play in the front yard and this kind of thing. And it is a very valuable, honorable profession, and TAB helps regulate its own members and provides guidance and education, in addition to the advocacy, to be able to put people in homes that they can afford, because it's part of that American dream. And I know that the type of construction that has changed over the years, depending on the availability of land and the cost increase and interest rates and all the things that make homes more expensive, materials coming from all over the world and how expensive that is. And one of the things TAB tries to, and it does a great job on doing, is making those homes affordable, so we can put as many people into homes and pull them out of apartments and have something that they can pass on generationally. And so many families now are also multi-generational housing situations. When we have people from all over the world coming to Texas, they live different. It's usually not just, your single family situations. There's multiple generations living in housing now, and a lot of our builders are modifying what they're doing to accommodate that type of culture and lifestyle.
And a lot of the cities and municipalities, sorry, I can't talk today, also have to modify their codes a lot of times to allow some of those types of situations as well.
That's exactly right. Because owners aren't going to go down to the city council and say, hey, this is the type of housing that we need. That's the builders doing that. They already know what the market wants, and the people that are coming into the market to say, this is what I want built. And so members of the local association, people on the ground building houses in these communities for decades, go to the city and say, hey, we need zoning, or we need to be able to build housing like this, because that is a demand that's out there. And so the builders know what the demand is, and then they go to the city and say, how can we make this happen for the people that want to live in this community and pay taxes and send their kids to school and buy groceries?
Yep. And they do that through the association. Yeah,
that's right.
The builders themselves typically aren't going down there. I mean, maybe some of the larger builders might, right? But the average builder doesn't have the time, manpower, knowledge to go to the city and do that themselves.
They don't know how, right? And in the local associations equip those builder representatives to go do that. And the larger local association, like in Houston and Austin and Dallas and Fort Worth, San Antonio, they equip those builders to be able to go present themselves to a city council and talk to the code officials to make sure all of that construction is being built the right way to accommodate for all the different needs and the market demands that are out there.
Yeah. I think that sometimes, at least from my perspective as a small to mid-sized builder, sometimes TAB kind of gets lost in the shuffle. I think that the local is obviously what we're engaged in the most. The national is very visible. National's got the International Builder Show, which is coming up next week. Lots of big visibility for the national, and sometimes people lose sight of what the state association does. And I would argue, from a advocacy perspective, it's probably the most important, because at the state level is where a lot of those laws are getting made that affect us locally, right? And so, yeah, obviously national advocacy is important, as well as local, but the state lawmakers are really who are passing the laws and having those conversations that really affect us, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And TAB is, I would say, as you mentioned, one of the most important things we do is advocacy at the Capitol every other year, and also it seems like in between too, with all the special sessions. But cities and counties, they're basing what they do off of the state law. And so we are there at the Capitol testifying, meeting with staff, meeting with legislators themselves, and either proposing draft legislation or, editing, amending that legislation.
I say TAB really works to create affordability across the state, like Don was saying, and they do it every day during legislative session in between. Advocacy is what we do, and that is the heart of who we are.
Yeah. Let's kind of shift gears and kind of get more into the contract side of things. It's kind of the main thing I wanted to cover today. So in my intro, I talked about how our homes are handmade products, right? Lots of moving parts, lots of people involved in doing that, and we've got a lot of emotion involved in that. So because of that, we really do need good contracts, kind of as the way to not only resolve conflict, but to define the relationship and kind of define how we as builders are going to work with our homeowners, our customers, right?
That's right. Well, I'll take lead on initially answering that. What the biggest complaint we get about any contracts is always, and I get it from consumers, from builders, and then from trades, is, oh, these are way too long. Okay? Well, if everything goes right perfectly every time for the 30,000 components that you're talking about, well, yeah, we can do a handshake. Back when I first started practicing law, I had plenty of clients that would build a house on a handshake, and those days are gone. Just from the regulatory requirements, the notice requirements, and all the things we have to do, that works out perfectly if everybody gets along and the project goes seemingly. And it just doesn't. And so the biggest complaint is always contracts too long. But when you have a longer contract, you always have the ability to go look at that contract from the experience from all the hundreds and hundreds of members, okay, the builder members and consumers, to say, hey, this is an area where we see an issue come up over and over again. How are we going to resolve that? Okay, so the biggest thing I would say with a good contract that's well worded is that you get certainty. Okay, you go into this contract, if we have an issue with something, whether it's during the construction process or after for the warranty, we have certainty. We know what the answer is, because we don't ever want the answer to be, we don't know, because both sides are going to fuss about that. And so the TAB contract really goes through the process, especially on like a custom home build where you're interacting daily, the type of work that you do, where it is a relationship, okay? And not only during that, like a 2-year build relationship, we know what the playbook is and we know what the rules are. And then after, when you have the warranty period, it's a long relationship between a homeowner and a builder. And it's an important one. And so we want answers to the things that come up over and over again. And that's what the TAB contract accomplishes.
Yeah, it's really about setting clear expectations and giving certainty and knowing where you're headed, as Don was saying, before you get there. And it's for both sides. It really serves as the roadmap to how this relationship is going to go if it doesn't go how we think it and hope it will.
Yeah, Curtis, you said in the intro, I mean, look, you're building something outside, weather related. I mean, it's not going to be sunshine, and sometimes you want rain at some point, and you've got 30,000 on average parts. That's not really, like you said, for custom home, that could be a lot more. Wouldn't it be nice to have a document that's been created over 30 years that addresses kind of the most common run-ins that both sides have and that's anything from remodeling to building on the builder's property, building on the homeowner's property. I mean, we have all kinds of contracts that have been tailored and have gone through 30 years of history, to get to that end point, which for probably everybody is going to be one of the most expensive things that they build or buy in their life. And it's also something that's unique because you don't escape it. You come home after work and, you don't want to look at that crack in your ceiling. So it's really personal, and it's really important, to all of us that we have something that works for everyone.
And I was going to say, it's not a matter of if something goes wrong, right? Homes are built by humans. Humans make mistakes. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And this really does just set the boundaries, the guidelines, the expectations for how you take it from when something happens, not if it does.
I'll also say that it fosters some communication up front, oftentimes before the project starts. Because when we present our proposal to a client, we give them a draft of the contract, and we say, hey, you should read this before we sit down and sign it. So take it home, read it, fall asleep reading it, whatever, and come back to our next meeting and let's talk about it. And oftentimes they'll read something and they're like, oh, I hadn't thought about that. How does this work? How do you guys handle this? And so it's a way to communicate about process, communicate about the different things that could happen over the course of a 1 or 2 year build.
Right. Well, and a perfect example of that is what the process is, because most people have never built a home, with a builder. A lot of people buy spec homes. We know that. We have volume builders out there that sell thousands of homes that you walk in and it's like, this is what you're getting. But in that build process, whether it's cost plus or fixed price on owner's lot, whatever the business relationship is, by way of example, how do you do your selections? When do I need to be available to do that? That is a long process.
What happens when I ask for a change order?
Yeah,
exactly.
And when I ask for a change order, am I going to get charged for that? Or is it a part of the allowance? And that presenting the contract and sending them home with it is a great way for them to review the timeline and what this is going to look like. Hey, when I tell you it's time for selections, if you don't have, and I always encourage builders to get as much of the plans and specifications done before you contract. Certainly you can contract beforehand, okay? But once a consumer signs a contract, they expect to go to the site and see dirt moving around, and it does not work like that. We all know that. It's just like, I haven't even submitted anything to the city yet. And once government gets involved, we're just waiting on them, right? And we can go back and knock on their doors many times, but that's what's so important about the TAB contract. It sets those expectations and a timeline, and like the special provisions addendum. The builder doesn't have to use the contract just like it's a square peg in a round hole. There's a special provisions addendum where you can plug in your process. This is when we're going to do these things, because every builder is different. That's what's great about a custom home builder, is you have a process that works for you and your team and your designers and your guys in the field, your construction manager and your office staff, and you know what that process looks like. And we have awesome custom home builders that it's just one or two people, and they build multi-million, they're brand names. People are trying to get on their list to have that I have a crafted home, right? And so it's really important for special provisions and selections and the process part to go in and have that signed up, on day one.
It's about building trust. I mean, when you lay out the expectations as you have those upfront conversations around the contract, and then you go execute and do the things that you say you're going to do, and you're following the contract, and you're performing on the promises you made, you're building the trust in them. And this is just the first step, really, in helping to build that relationship.
Yeah. So how did TAB come about saying we're going to have contracts for our members? Like, what's the evolution in the history of the TAB contracts?
So it's about 30 years ago, this idea was born, and it came out of a lot of litigation. Because then that'll kill the whole process, and it really sours people. And to the extent it should be, a great, and it's a very important part of someone's life is building a home or remodeling. So it started about 30 years ago, and I want Dawn to answer this question, but I do want to say that 30 years later, it is the only set of published contracts that we can find that comply with current law, because we are paying so close attention at the legislature, at court, in the courtroom, at the various regulatory authorities. We pay so close attention that if there are any changes, or we hear of any changes, we're either going to be advocating for them, or we're going to update these sets of contracts.
And I want to just tag in real quick, and I know this takes us off a little bit, but these forms are updated every 2 years after the legislative session, and they're updated throughout the interim based on the changes and everything that Francis is talking about. So it's keeping you up to date in real time.
Maybe you can answer this for me. How many bills were introduced that TAB tracked this past legislative session that somehow touched on our industry?
So there's no secret. We don't use AI. It's literally me, Scott, and JD and Blair. We read through every single bill, resolution, joint resolution that's filed, and there was about 10,000 of them last session. And of the 10,000, there was probably about 600 or 700 that affected this industry. And I think 140 of those were negative, would have either completely undone, for example, just premise liability. It would have shifted premise liability. And TAB will reach out to our members, and because the legislators at this point are tired of seeing our faces, and so they want to hear from actual home builders. Well, because they're not always thinking, well, that's just one word. Why would that matter? Why would one word in the law matter so much? So the process is we have committee hearings, and then we'll testify. We reach out to builders to have builders testify. I know, Adam, you've testified many times for that process.
They don't let me testify.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought up the premises liability issue. That's not just a builder issue. That's a homeowner issue. If you have someone go onto your site whether it's a trade or a kid or somebody trespassing on a homeowner-owned site, TAB is looking out for anybody that's a property owner to on that liability issue. I'm glad it didn't pass because I don't know about it at this point, but that's what TAB does to get out in front of all of these issues that ultimately affect price. Because we have people come to the industry that say, hey, we want to do this thing, okay? And we look and we're like, that's going to cost $10,000 per home. Okay, it can be any kind of thing. It can be trees or sprinkler systems or whatever, security systems, some other way of installing a product. Okay, and if you don't know the answer is always money. Okay, and that drives up the cost of a home. Okay, and do y'all know the stat on how many Texans it prices out for every like $1,000?
It's like 10,000, I think, for every $1,000 increase in the home. About 10,000 people are priced out.
And so that affects, yeah, of course that affects the people that were trying to get into home ownership to create some wealth, is that entry level market where that's going to price 10,000 people out because of $1,000 thing that we have to do now that we shouldn't have to be doing. And now let's just say it's $10,000 or $20,000 to an average, and then also people don't get the stuff they want, I mean, because then it goes into, hey, I can't get the finish out I want because this other thing is more expensive.
I think that when you can relate that to a lawmaker face to face, so we used that same stat last year at Rally Day numerous times, and when they start thinking about, okay, now my constituents can't buy a home, my constituents aren't going to be happy, that equals me not being reelected, maybe, right? Like, hey, maybe this is something that I should pay attention to and stand up for, right? So I'm blown away that there were that many bills introduced, period, but especially that many that really affect us as builders and consumers. That's crazy.
And a lot of those funnel down into the contract. And so there's every we get together and then we figure out, after they do all the hard work at the state TAB level, they start communicating to me, hey, do we need to incorporate this in? And the answer every 2 years is yes. And we have to make massive amounts of changes, and we roll those out and then go do talks to all of the locals that'll have us, which now is all of them will have us. And we do the talk and we tell them, this is what's changed in the law that affects your contract that you need to be communicating to the consumers. And here's a red line version. We'll show you what changed. And a lot of that is just state law disclosures, like Francis was talking about earlier. Other contracts don't even have the required disclosure such that the day you sign it as the builder, you may be committing some kind of deceptive trade practice act because you didn't give the piece of paper. And with the TAB contract, it's just not one contract, and Francis can speak to this, but from the business side, there's 11 different types of contracts that are available. It's not just a spec home contract. There's all different kinds, cost plus, fixed price, on
design
their lot.
Professionals.
Yeah, those are huge. The design, I'm glad you brought that up, because the design professional agreements are near and dear to me, because I've represented so many custom home builders over the years that have a great client that walk in, the Smith family, and they want to build their dream home. And for a builder, you're about to spend 80 to 100 hours easy. You tell me. I mean, I don't at least, to even come up with a decent concept. And you may even do blue lines in-house or an architect and come up with specs. And at the end of that, you're trying to get them a price so they can go to their bank and say, this is how much money I need. And you, the whole time, you and your staff are working, providing professional services. If they could go do it on their own, they would. They need you to give them that very valuable information so that they can build the house they want. And then you get to tell them you can afford exactly what you want. Or here's what we can do to cut back here in this other place so that you can afford this dream home that you want on this particular lot. my builders that spend hundreds of hours doing that, okay? And that is a professional service that they should get paid for.
Absolutely.
And there are two different design professional agreements. It's not saying we're an architect or an engineer. It's you going through that process to come up with the plans and specs for the dream home that they want to build, and that has massive value. We have an agreement for that. It's not a construction contract. It says, I'm going to give you this time, and here's the results I'm going to give you. Going back to what Adam was talking about earlier, the certainty part. Here are the 4 things that you're going to get out of this relationship for X number of dollars. And that all depends upon, is it a $200,000 kitchen and bath remodel, where you're going to maybe charge them a little, or is it a $5 million build where you're going to spend maybe 500 hours with them before you even think about submitting anything to this city? And so I love the design professional agreements, because then at the end, if they don't want to build with you, you've been paid for your time, and you say, here's the plans, you can use whatever. Yeah. And it gives you that opportunity as a builder and a customer to say, hey, maybe we're not a great fit for each other. And gives you both that opportunity to say no. Most of the time you say yes.
I think it's a great way for builders to position themselves as, I'm a professional. I should get compensated for my time as a professional. I shouldn't be expected to spend 40, 50, 100 hours for free to give you a free estimate. No, like you should pay me for my experience and my expertise, right?
Yeah, like the bills we're going to send you after this podcast
exactly.
for our expertise.
Yeah, they wouldn't go to their attorney and ask for 50 hours of time for free.
Of course not.
You would just laugh at them. They wouldn't go to their doctor and get 50 hours of time for free,
exactly
right? So why should they go to us with our experience and also expect to get that time for free?
So if the listeners are curious, and don't worry too much about it, because Scott, JD, and I will do our best, and everyone do our best at the Capitol. But the bills. So at the end of session, TAB puts out a Capitol report, and it lists things that did not pass. And by the way, those 146 bad bills, none of them passed. There were 6 of them that did pass, but TAB amended them in a way that they were neutral and did not hurt the industry or affect the industry. And we have a list, and there are pictures and there are graphs, so it's not just a bunch of legalese. We try to make it interactive and interesting. You can go through, and it's probably got maybe 100 kind of bills that are highlighted that passed into law. So maybe we can link that, or it's for members, so it's part of your dues really to get that document, and we produce that every 2 years.
It's a great publication.
Yeah.
Well, and it's so much of the work y'all do in the Capitol is focused on housing affordability and how to create a more affordable home for all homeowners in Texas and all home buyers in Texas. And thank you for that.
It's really interesting how...
My pleasure. It's fun. It truly is. I mean, it's just it's fun.
It's interesting that the advocacy component and the contract component are actually pretty interlinked, right? Because if you're not there paying attention to all the stuff that's going on and advocating for builders, you wouldn't be noticing these things that we then pass along to the attorneys who are writing the contracts, updating the contracts. So it's all tied together.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly right.
Let's talk about what types of contracts are out there available. You mentioned a minute ago, it's not just for building a house. There's a design professional thing, but there's lots of things out there that are meant to protect not only builders but also the consumer at the end of the day. What other types of contracts and addenda are available?
So there's every kind of business relationship really you can think of. Now, I have had people show up and they have a very unique situation, and they just use the special provisions. But your standard kind of how to get paid in the process, we have all those in the form set. I have a lot of people approach me and say, "Hey, I need a tab. I need to buy that tab contract." And I was like, "It's not just a contract. It's an entire, the way it's morphed into over the last 30 years. It's an entire package of documents that a builder needs for their relationships, both with their independent contractor agreements. There's 3 of those. There's for your engineers and architects, a professional services agreement. There's a turnkey trade independent contractor agreement. That's going to be like your plumber and your painter and your HVAC and your typical trades that everybody knows.
And Lauren's got the giant binder on
Right.
the table here for those of you who are watching on video.
And I can tell you that's about half of the forms that are printed out that are sitting right there. That you can double that
I
if
just
you
called you
printed
Lauren.
all the forms out.
Sorry,
That's okay.
Francis. I said Lauren for some reason. You look like Lauren to me.
And what shocks
Yeah.
me in all of this, though, Don, is it's only $600. I mean, you can't get 2 hours of an attorney for $600, and here we are handing over to them an entire package of contracts. It's pretty.
Man, that's probably less than an
amazing.
hour at your rates, right?
I hope to get there someday. Yeah, I do work for builders who are checking the prices of 2x4s daily, so there's
fair,
that.
fair.
Right? Yeah. But this just a physical representation of how many forms there are, and there's like about 20 addendums depending on which contractor you're using. There's all these addendums that you go through and check the box and say, hey, I need this form. I've never seen it used, but I think it has been used. There's an intercoastal waterway disclosure form. So that's how specific and granular we get. There's lots of other forms, of course. There's a green building disclosure if you're a green builder. There's so many different types of addendums that for all over the state, from El Paso to Amarillo, around the coast, Corpus Christi, and it accounts for those different environments. Corpus Christi, it's a high wind zone, and there's different parts of the state where we build differently. And depending on which local municipality that you're in, you got to build to that code. Okay. And even when you're outside of the municipalities, state law has code that applies. Doesn't mean that the municipality is not checking on it, but it complies. You got to build the house according to code, and these contracts are forcing the builder to build to code, okay, and to industry standard. And coupled with that, one of my babies is the warranty document. It's a big deal, okay. If you go look at any other form out there or look nationwide, the TAB warranty and performance standards have become national standards. In fact, the third-party warranty companies, a lot of the big third-party warranty companies that are HUD-approved warranties, they have basically come in and copied our warranty and performance standards because they're that good. And it's not home cooked. It's not something that TAB came up with. If you remember way back in the TRCC days, before it was sunsetted, there was a committee of all different kinds of stakeholders, okay? Consumers, plaintiffs' lawyers that all they do is sue builders. You had engineers, architects, you had industry professionals, okay, all on that committee. And it was chaired at Texas A&M. And there was, in about 2003, there was this document that we came up with, which was state law. We don't have state mandated warranties anymore. That went away in 2009. And so that warranty was around for several years, basically got adopted about 2005, and the process started in 2003. And that was the warranty of the state. And when the TRCC went away, we went back to, well, you can just agree to whatever you want to agree to. Well, TAB decided, hey, this was good enough for state law, and it's a great document that used so many different stakeholders. We're just going to wholesale adopt that warranty and put it as a mandatory express warranty to every single contract that TAB publishes. And it's stringent standards. We don't make them up. And every 2 years, there is a committee. It's called the Change Review Group at TAB that has different stakeholders. It's a lot of nerdy engineer types, people that are trades. And how many letters do you send out?
So, we send out about over 100 letters to just various people around the state that are industry leaders. And again, they're not necessarily, and most of them actually aren't members of TAB. So we try to bring in professors, engineers, the warranty professionals to not only review any changes that happened at the legislature, but then we go through that warranty document with a fine-tooth comb. I mean, we spent at least 2 full days once we actually met, the group actually met, but several hundred hours reviewing that document alone and making it better. People, custom builders or any type of remodeler will say, I keep seeing this issue with cracks in concrete. I keep seeing this issue with water intrusion or standing water. Can we redefine that? Because homeowners, they're not happy, and we want to make that better. We want a better product. And so, we get real into the weeds with that, but what a great document, too, to have both sides of the contract, the homeowner and the builder, to have this document within your contracts package that really spells out what the standard is and what you're getting a warranty for.
Curtis, you talked a few minutes ago about advocacy and the contracts tying together. The warranty is actually an amazing example of how they do tie together. I mean, it was 3 or 4 years ago now. In the state of Texas, they worked on the statute of repose and kind of encouraging things to get done. And in the state of Texas now, if you offer a warranty and you actually provide an express warranty to your homeowners, your statute of repose is 6 years, so you can have a 6-year warranty. If you don't offer a warranty, they have 10 full years to be able to make claims. So it just ties all that together right on its head.
Absolutely. I mean, so to me, the kind of going back to the contracts in general being something that kind of defines relationships and prevents conflict. I mean, the warranty document especially really kind of defines relationships and prevents and resolves conflict, right? So if you're letting people review the contract before they sign it, and they're like, and you explain to them, these are the performance standards. If you see a crack in concrete, well, first of all, guess what? Concrete, it's hard and it cracks. Those are the two things that are always true about concrete. But any crack bigger than this, call me. It's an issue. If the crack is smaller than this, it's concrete, right? So by having that conversation up front with the homeowner, you prevent that phone call, you prevent the conflict. But then if they do get upset about it and they call you and they're yelling at you, it's a way to resolve the conflict. Hey, I understand you're upset. Here's what it says, right?
Yeah, exactly. That communication, and then that builds trust as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you go through a walkthrough, a punch walkthrough, okay? And you built the house.
Blue tape nightmare.
Yeah, it's it's the way it is, and that should be the expectation of a consumer. The builder does it right the day I move in, okay, and I built it according to the plans and specifications, or substantial compliance with that. And then the next relationship begins, and that is the warranty document. So I always encourage the builders to go through the warranty before you contract and say, this is what my promise to you is under this warranty. I've got 1 year, 2 year, and 6 year obligations. I always encourage all my builders to go buy a insurance-backed third-party warranty as well, because the ones that are out there that are good, that are as members of our association, those third-party warranty programs are approved by HUD and they're insurance backed.
I was going to ask you if a builder should have both.
Yeah, I would say yes. Yeah. Okay. I mean, there's a lot of builders that don't. Okay, but I encourage them to, because if you have the accident of a house that has a broken foundation. I mean, we live in Texas. From me taking my Uber from here to the airport, and if I'm listening to the radio, I'm going to hear a foundation repair company commercial. I promise you. I may hear 2 or 3. It's an issue that we have with active soils in Texas. And as much as we try to build them perfectly, we still get houses that have problems. And this warranty says, builder, if it exceeds these standards, you're going to fix it. And I think builders and owners and the next owner and the third owner after that has that transferable warranty that if it's broke, it gets fixed and it gets paid for by the third-party warranty company, and the builder's able to shift that liability to a third-party warranty company for a fee. And our warranty, the TAB warranty, the Express Limited Home Warranty, adopts nearly verbatim what the Texas section of the ASCE, the engineers, do on their own. In super secret, they come up with the warranty, the standard for performance on how you evaluate it. It's L over 360 and 1% tilt. Okay, those are the standards, and the national warranty companies have adopted that standard as your house should perform like that, and that is something you can go measure, whether you have whether you have OCEs or not. You go out, you send an engineer out to go look at it, and they say, it needs to be fixed. And then the builder or hopefully the third-party warranty company is on the hook for that fix. And it provides a lot of certainty, and it increases the value of the home to the consumers out there. If you have this Express Limited Home Warranty that you can pass to the next consumer and say, this is the warranty that you're getting from the builder, here's his number if you have a problem, that has massive value versus just walking up. Who built this home? I don't know. I don't know if there's a warranty. I have no idea. It adds value to your home to be able to pass on that document and a third-party warranty document with a certificate that says this home is warranted for 10 years, because most of the warranty programs still want to sell the 10-year just for market purposes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's a great point, too. Yeah, a lot of builders that we talk to, they want to go beyond that 6-year and do the 10-year. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's great if they want to do that, but by law they don't have to do that if they don't want to, as long as they are providing that express written warranty.
But it better be in writing express warranty to get the benefit of a shortened statute of repose. You have to say, this is what I will do in writing. If you don't use the TAB contract, well, I don't know what warranty you're giving, because the law doesn't really say. It's pretty vague, and it may be 10 years. You're out there fixing sheetrock cracks.
And what good public policy to encourage
That's right.
the builder giving a warranty, an express warranty, so everybody knows what that looks like. I mean, that's really a huge step in the right direction.
Yeah. So in this age of AI and internet and everything else, I think builders could save a buck and hop on AI and kind of make their own contract. Or there's also other contracts floating around out there from various organizations around the country. What makes the TAB contract the best?
Again, back to kind of not a joke that we always say, is it void or voidable? If you use AI or, another published contract, you're going to get, maybe you save a couple bucks up front, but in the long run, you're going to pay tenfold probably, because the law is so technical that, as you mentioned earlier, you're signing a document and that document could be void from the moment you sign it, and you have no idea.
And Francis said it earlier. This is the only one that truly complies with all of the laws throughout the state and has it all in one place, right? This is the one, the only one. So that's why when you ask about AI and compiling all this other stuff, this is the one. It's already there, and it's only $600.
Yeah,
for our builder members.
It's amazing how many builders that I see that I've come across in Houston who have their own kind of cobbled together version of some sort of contract that they're using on a daily basis, and it blows my mind that stuff like this is available and they're not taking advantage of it.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you want to go AI a contract, by all means. I've already paid for all my kids' college, but I'll maybe pay for my grandkids' college if you're using that kind of form. Not that it's necessarily per se bad. And the problem is when you don't have a defined set of rules that you're going to build by during construction and after construction, those end up in fights you don't want. And people want certainty. Okay, homeowners and builders want certainty. They want to, especially for something as big a deal as building a house with all of this money. They want certainty. And I've played around with all the different AIs. I said, draft me, and I'm very specific with my question that I'll ask AI, and I'll ask it to draft me a Texas-based contract with a warranty and rattle off some other provisions. I've never seen one that I would sign or it suggests to my client to sign. Now, they're pretty, okay? It comes up with a pretty form. The words read good, okay? But it's not something either party really wants to sign.
And, just one, I won't get too far in the weeds with it, but one thing that because I've played around with it as well, there's things in the law that have to be written in a specific font size. Mm-hmm. And you cannot change any of the order of the words that the law prescribes. Because if you do, you've got a void contract. So, we have gone through, we've vetted everything to make sure that, this contracts package complies with the law.
The one.
The one.
The
one.
one.
And we do have industry partners that look at the TAB contract. Lenders, title companies, realtors, and everybody else in between look at these contracts and they go, oh, I know what that is. I know how to lend on that document. I know how to close title on that document. I know the thing, and the realtors are like, I'm going to get paid. Because there's a spot where they get paid, and that's really important to realtors. And so just those three industries alone, when they see the TAB contract, they have a level of comfort. I've had a lot of banks come back for some home-cooked form by a builder that the owner and the builder have already signed, and the bank's like, we're not going to lend on that.
Yeah.
And so they get to start all over, and they're calling me on a Friday at 3 wanting a contract form. I was like, here's the number of your local association. Yeah. It may be next week, but it's a real problem because the banks and the lending institutions have really gotten very tight on how they're going to, because the only reason the bank is able to lend money is because of the construction contract signed between the consumer and it's not their forms. It's the construction form, and the banks love the TAB form because they know they're lending on a product that has this warranty on it. And that's important to them, especially if they get a third-party warranty.
Yeah, I mean, there's protections in there that affect them and protect them on a lot of stuff as well. It's not just the builder and the homeowner, too.
Right.
And that's why we update it every 2 years, which is why it's very important to purchase that package again. It's actually a license that you get. And if there's a court case or something that comes out, we usually send out an email and contact members, and we're going to update it in real time. But it's really important to buy the most recent version.
Absolutely.
Of that.
Do not show up in my office with a 2013 version. I'll show you the door, because it's a big deal to me, because the number of hours that we give away of our time, and Adam doesn't get paid for any of his time with TAB, and all the other people that are on executive committee and volunteer for all these committees and write these forms and do all this effort. Okay. It's important to TAB to get its $600 every 2 years. Okay. Yeah. And I will tell you, I have builders show up with a form where there's some kind of dispute, and I tell them, you're going to lose because you used the wrong form. Okay. It's not that hard. It's super easy to download. TAB has made it very easy, and you own those forms. So you can take those forms and put them into whatever system you want to, however you want to execute them, on a tablet or whatever. And I'm not going to get into all the details. Don't do that for a build job. You need to do it the formal way, with a notary, wet signatures. But most all the rest of the forms you can sign through your tablet or however you want to do that, PDF or whatever.
Yeah. So I'm glad that you mentioned staying current on the forums, because I see a lot of builders who will have that old form. They're like, well, I paid my $600, or I got these forms years ago. I don't need to keep paying for this every single year. But as we mentioned, there's the new issues that come up that have to be addressed, and something that was valid 10 years ago may not be the same case this year, right? And so, people need to be renewing this and refreshing this on a annual, biannual basis, whatever that term is. They're being updated, right?
Yeah. I promise you, sometime in the next 7 years, okay, since the statute of repose changed, I'm going to have a builder show up in my office, and they're going to have a 10-year warranty when they could have had a 6. because they use the old forms.
Yeah. Before we wrap things up, we've talked a lot about, and we've touched on this. We've talked a lot about how these things benefit builders, but let's focus for a minute on the consumer, our customers. What are the ways that this actually protects our customers? Because what I hear a lot of times is, oh, this is so builder one-sided, right? How does this also protect our customers? How does this also protect the lenders as well that we just touched on?
Number one, express limited home warranty that we just went through. I mean, that really is important for the builder, but also for the homeowner to have that in writing and really understand what is being warranted and negotiated. And then I want y'all to answer this, but big picture, like Don said, we set it up that you can download them in PDF and Word document, because a lot of times the homeowner is going to say, actually, I would really like this to happen. And that gives the flexibility to tailor that contract so that both sides of the contract are happy with it.
I get that question a lot. I have homeowner lawyers, big law firms. Oh, this form is terrible. I was like, which part? And here's the floor. Tell me which part. And it's amazing the silence that I hear on the other side. Just because it says Texas Association of Builders doesn't mean that it's builder friendly. You go about midway through the contract and you'll see 3 check boxes that say, as the builder, I promise to workers' comp, yes or no. So the consumer knows. Checkbox, they're doing that, and they're getting all of their independent contractors, or they're getting waivers. Okay, that's a box. Show me another contract where there's a box for that, so that the consumer can look when they sign the contract that the builder's committing on workers' comp issues, or getting the waivers, or general liability insurance. Some people don't care. I think as a builder, you should buy general liability. Okay, I think it's important for a whole lot of reasons, okay? Regardless of what you think about the coverage, you need to buy a good insurance product, which Tab, y'all can talk about that. Tab has a program. There's a box that says, do I have general liability insurance or not? You check the box. The consumer knows day one. Why would you not want to ask? So it's asking that question of the consumer and the builder, where they can check the box and say yes or no. And the consumer may say, you don't have general liability insurance? I think I may want to use a different builder, okay? If somebody dies on your property, okay, and the owner gets sued for that, you better have some insurance, okay? And then there's another box that says, who's getting the builder's risk insurance? And that's a good question to ask. I've seen people start into $1 million remodel and there's no insurance, okay? There's no general liability insurance, and there's no owner's insurance for those improvements, because nobody bought it, because your typical homeowner's insurance policy does not cover that.
Yeah, that's out the door once that project starts.
That's right. Yeah. So you know exactly what I'm talking about. A lot of builders say, oh, well, that's a homeowner's insurance thing.
Nope.
It's not. And that's part of what, when we go do seminars and Tab educates on, what are you buying when you're buying general liability insurance, builder's risk insurance, and compared to the homeowner's policy, you need to know those things. Clearly, you knew that answer because I saw you perk up in your chair, because it's a big deal. That's in the contract. That's consumer friendly. And then you go down a couple more pages and there's a box that says, am I getting a third-party warranty or not? Well, a lot of owners don't know that that's a thing. Okay. And I'm not talking about the cheap little warranty on a resale for your appliances and your pool pump. This is a major structural defect warranty that starts on day 1 and ends on year 10. That's insurance backed by A-rated paper and approved by HUD, okay, or the VA. I think a consumer may want to know whether their builder has that or not. You check the box and say, hey, can I see that document? Sure, here you go. The thing that's consumer friendly about it, and Francis talked about this earlier, I'm telling you, that third-party warranty, and coupled with the express limited home warranty, is the best in the industry. It is many pages long and covers so much ground, where they can go out there and look at like your concrete example that you brought up earlier. Homeowner can take a ruler out there, look at it, and say, builder, you got to fix that.
Even some of the addenda, I think, give good protection for the homeowner. The subcontractor, the independent contractor agreement for your subs, right? That actually protects the homeowners as well, because it's defining the builder's relationship with their trades and how they're getting paid and how they can file liens and what their performance standards are as well, right? So it's not just the main body of the contract and the warranty. It's also some of these addenda also benefit them as well.
It will absolutely. Like, let's look at it from a commercial standpoint. If you have a commercial owner building a $20 million building, the owner, okay, is going to want to see all those subcontract agreements. So you have owner, you have a GC, and then you have all the subs. The owner demands to see all of those independent contractor agreements with the trades, because the tab independent contractor agreements protect the owner as much as it does the builder.
You're getting copies of their insurance, which is very important.
How many big jobs we do that? Yeah, we'll see it.
I mean, how many, speaking from experience, how many trades out there aren't carrying current insurance, or maybe they buy the policy and then it lapses the minute they, or they cancel it the minute they provide the certificate, right? So it's making sure it's the mechanics of how you're going to be protected, which in turn protects the homeowner.
Yeah, and we have in the commercial world, that's very common. In the residential world, the owner's concerned about the color of the paint and the cosmetics and all of this. In the commercial world, it's about a business enterprise. We're going to be operating something here. And so the tab contract does stuff that you don't even know that it's doing from the consumer side, helping the consumer, and you just don't even know it.
Yeah. One of the things that we talk about on this podcast a lot are builders having systems for running their business, and systems for how they do everything that they do, and just don't go at it haphazardly. And so having a good contract package, utilizing the contracts in the right way, is just another one of those business systems that protects you as a builder, that makes sure that you're running your business like a business and not just something you're doing for fun, right? So to kind of wrap it up here, we're out of time. I want to go around the table, and each of you just kind of give me one takeaway that you want people to think about after they finish listening to the podcast.
Okay, I'll go first. I never have one. I know I never have one. They're laughing because they know me well enough. Okay, I'm going to try to narrow it down to
just one.
When I have a builder show up, let's just say it's a brand new kid that wants to be a builder that's been working for a bigger volume builder, and they want to start their business. I have them show up. This happens to me. Second generational builders that they graduated from and got a construction sciences degree. They're ready to start their business. They show up and they say, "What do I do?" So first thing I tell them, you go join the association and you get involved. You go find yourself a mentor at the association, somebody with gray hair that you can go bug, that has time on their hands, and you get their cell phone. You go to lunch with them. They'll probably pay, and you find yourself a mentor. Okay, if you're at the national level and you have the time to do it, go join a Builder 20. Show up at the meetings. You don't have to go to all of them, but go to the education sessions, especially at the local. So risk management, the cheapest thing you can do for risk management is buy the tab contracts. Then you need to start looking at third-party warranty and also general liability. And tab has all of those as programs that they offer. They get massive discounts if you're a member of tab. A lot of the GL programs that are out there, if you're using the tab contract, they will give, now they don't publish this, but they will give you a discount because they know you're using the tab contract and the independent contractor agreements. That lowers your rate massively. And it also does with the third-party warranty. So using that kind of three-legged stool, I can't make you have good operations. That's what you go to tab and the other members of tab that have been around for a long time. It's amazing how I see competitors, okay, for the same customers in the association helping each other so much. And a lot of the time that consumer will go to both of those builders, and they'll talk to each other, and they'll decide, hey, I think you're a better fit for them, okay? Because all the personalities are different, and we got to be able, especially on the custom home side.
Yeah. I talk to customers all the time who have already spoken with several other members of the GHBA that I'm friends with. And I'll tell them, hey, they're all great guys, all great companies. Make a choice based on personality fit and what their systems and processes are. But you can't go wrong with them, because I know that they're doing things the right way. So absolutely. One thing that you mentioned was about savings on insurance. I actually experienced that. My insurance company wrote me a fat check on a refund on my premium, because for the first time ever, I had $0 paid to uninsured subcontractors without a signed agreement, right? Mm-hmm. And so when I provided all those to my insurance company last year, I got a big refund check. So that's great. That is absolutely true.
Yeah, that's it. That's great. One last thing. This is my second thing. I know that.
Knew there can only be one.
The other thing is, look at some of these other programs. You can go save 10, 15 grand on a truck. If you go buy a new diesel truck, because I looked and I was still priced out. It's so expensive. But programs that Tab have that people don't look at because there's another email. If you scroll through for a lot of these products that aren't insurance related or risk management or contracts, you go look through it. And I was in the market. I can't remember which brand it was, but it was like a $10,000 discount just straight off the top.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much benefit from being a Tab member, and it's hard to even explain it in an hour-long podcast.
Absolutely. Adam, what's your takeaway?
Yeah, it really is certainty and predictability for both sides, right? The builder is able to run their business the same way with every customer. They have their processes, their procedures, and their contracts in place, and it sets the certainty and the expectations for the owners, and everybody knows what they're getting into. And that's, I think, what a lot of us are all looking for as we go into these large relationships.
Yeah. Francis, what you got?
Sure. So I think might be hokey, but, the American dream and housing affordability, attainability, and then for our members, and by the way, the contracts package is for home builder members only. It's not for associate members, but we have all types of memberships. So not just for home builders, but we have the associate memberships as well for realtors and third party title, different types. But we are here, and this is kind of hokey part, but there's only 8 of us that work for the association. We are a well-oiled machine, and we're here for you guys. And call us, email us. We're available in real time and can help troubleshoot, answer questions, and I'm so glad you pointed out some of those discounts. We can show members where that is. So it's not just like, I've joined, now what? What do I do? We want to be there for you guys, because that's sincerely what I enjoy doing every day.
Great. My takeaway is there are a lot of really, really smart people at the association, and the people working for the association, associated with TAB and the local and the national. There are a lot of really smart people who are working very, very hard on a daily basis to make builders' businesses stronger and protect us. And at the end of the day, build better homes for our consumers, because at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to build a better product, have happier homeowners, better the industry, right? So that's my takeaway. All right.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate all of you being here and driving down from Dallas and Austin and 10 minutes down the street from here in Houston. And thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks for having us, Curtis.
And thank all of you for listening to this episode of the Your Project Shepherd podcast. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.